I'm Riley Carter, 34, a digital creator based in Portland, Oregon. My wedding day was supposed to be a love letter to every version of me that survived not being chosen. Ivory dress. Paper vows creased from being read 100 times. String lights like stars we could afford. I'd spent months believing, dangerously, that this would be the day my family finally showed up for me. They didn't. No call. No text. No card wedged under a windshield wiper with a fake apology. Mark and Evelyn Carter, my parents, and my older brother Connor didn't just miss my wedding, they airbrushed it out of their calendar like it was a smudge. The photographer kept asking, "Any family shots?" I kept saying, "Yes, later," as if later were a door you could open by sheer will. I swallowed the hurt, smiled for the pictures, and married the man who actually sees me. Then I did what I've always done, I went back to work and built. Last month I posted a single photo on Facebook, my electric blue Tesla Model S, fully loaded, sticker right around $120,000, sitting in our driveway shining like a dare. I didn't write a poem under it, I just wrote, "Took her home." The comments trickled in, friends, clients, old classmates. 4 days of quiet from my family. Then my mother called, voice tight as a violin string stretched too far. "Where?" she asked without hello. "Did you get the money?" "Be at the house tomorrow at noon. Family meeting." They overlooked my wedding, a car made them curious. You can't tell me people don't reveal themselves. Before I tell you what happened in that living room, I want to hear something from you. Has your family ever shrugged at your greatest moment and then materialized when you became useful? Put your story in the comments. I read every single one. I grew up on Prairie Court in Naperville, Illinois, in a tidy 2-story colonial with shutters that my dad repainted the exact same shade of respectable blue every summer. We had a basketball hoop over the garage and a lawn that never forgot its buzz cut. Inside, everything orbited Connor. Dad sold insurance, deductibles and riders by day, the bears and budget calculators by night. Mom ran a mid-size law office from 8 to 5 and our entire household from 5 to forever. Neither job ever clocked out. They both believed in merit, but somehow merit looked a lot like the things Connor did. Connor wasn't a villain. He was just golden. Quarterback when it mattered, debate captain when it counted, a future attorney before he could parallel park. He moved through the world like the rug would roll out, and it usually did. Me? I was the background music to their favorite movie. When I did well, the volume was turned down. When Connor did okay, the house blasted surround sound. I learned the rules early. When I was 8 and Connor's team won the middle school championship, our backyard became a parade route. Mom hung streamers. Dad grilled like he had stock in charcoal. Neighbors lined up to slap Connor on the back. "That's my boy," Dad said 3 times too loud, as if the volume proved love. I stood near the potato salad holding a paper cup and a secret. I wanted someone to say that about me, just once. The next year I landed the lead in the spring play. I rehearsed lines until the mirror begged for mercy. Opening night I peeked through the curtain, scanning for our familiar silhouettes. The seats where they should have been were a blank space Taylor Swift hasn't even dreamed about. Later, Mom texted, "Connor has a big quiz, had to help him study." I bowed to a crowd of strangers and walked home on legs that suddenly didn't know whose body they belonged to. By the time Connor graduated, we were booking banquet halls. Dad grabbed a microphone and cracked a joke about Connor cross-examining siblings at age 5. Everyone laughed, I smiled. The same morning I had won a statewide essay contest, the kind with a real seal and a signature. I showed Mom the plaque. "That's nice, honey," she said without looking up. "Don't forget we need more ice." My award lived on my dresser. Connor's trophies colonized the living room mantel like they paid rent. My 16th birthday came and went like a mailer you don't remember tossing. I ate microwaved pizza at 11:58 p.m. and sang to myself under my breath. I told the mirror I wasn't hungry for cake anyway. The mirror did not believe me. This is how invisibility works. It's not just the big missing, it's the daily subtraction. The compliment they don't say. The event they don't attend. The way they call you by a nickname when you're trying to introduce your actual self. The doorway out of that house didn't look like a doorway. It looked like a battered camcorder Ms. Lucia Alvarez held up on the first day of multimedia art. "This," she said, "is a witness. You decide what it sees." She screened a series of microfilms, skaters under orange streetlights, a stop-motion heart unfolding, fog rolling over a field like it knew secrets. The room went hushed the way rooms go silent when everyone's breath sinks. Something inside me unclenched for the first time. I borrowed the school camera and started recording the city breathing, do nots on grass at dawn, a flag snapping in a wind that didn't ask permission, rain talking to bus stop glass. I cut at night on free software that crashed every fifth save. I lost files and found better versions. Ms. Alvarez noticed. "There's a way, you see," she said, tapping a knuckle on the edge of my desk. "Enter the Midwest Youth Story Lab this fall. You'll learn more in a week than I can cram into a semester." I almost said no. Submitting work means auditioning for Hurt. But she handed me a crumpled flyer like it was a key. I made a 1-minute short called Small Hours, the city's tiny pulses stitched to a heartbeat I recorded with a phone pressed against the inside of my wrist. The Story Lab screened entries in a library auditorium that smelled like old paper and fluorescent lights. When my film ended, there was a second of quiet where I thought I'd failed, and then the room clapped the way people clap when they recognize something true before they know why. I won the Midwest Youth Story Lab Grand Prize, a modest $3,000 stipend, a week-long mentorship with a Chicago post-production house, and a refurbished DSLR camera they'd saved from an equipment upgrade. Not the fanciest award in the world. But it changed my orbit. Yes, the award is different now. Different name, different prize, same impact. It put gas in my tank. I walked home carrying a check that felt fake and a camera that felt like a promise. The next morning at breakfast I waited for them to ask where I'd been. Dad compared premiums. Mom made a list. Connor needed the car. No one asked. So I learned to clap for myself. It's not as loud at first. Then it gets louder. After graduation I moved into a studio with a window that whistled in crosswinds and a mouse I named Gerald, because pretending we were roommates was less depressing than traps. I freelanced, local bakeries, tiny gyms, indie shops with tape on their floors. I shot, cut, color graded, captioned. I invoiced and learned which clients paid in 14 days and which turned, net 30, into a creative writing prompt. I pitched at the Cascade Creators Summit and won Audience Choice, a glass triangle that looked expensive and a $12,500 services credit with a cloud editing platform that let me work like a team of 8 when I was actually a team of 1. Yes, new award again. Different title, different perk, real leverage. The moment that moved numbers came at a Milwaukee Tech mixer where I almost didn't go because my only blazer smelled like detergent that didn't wash out. I met Janet Cho, angel investor, brutal question asker, kindness that doesn't wear a costume. She watched 3 of my 60-second pieces on an iPad and said, "You cut through the scroll. You tell a story and respect my time." She wrote a $200,000 seed check that let me hire 2 people and lease a sliver of glass office that felt like possibility. We named the studio Pulse Frame. The work was fast, bright, human, ads that felt like tiny films. Local clients became regional. A retail chain called. A mid-market tech company asked for a bundle. A national outdoor brand wanted a docu-series that looked like morning but felt like midnight hope. We built to 7 figures in revenue and a following north of 1 million across platforms without a single billboard. Then a streaming platform slid a term sheet onto a table under lighting designed to make paper look holy. I negotiated for 3 months. I learned to drink espresso without making a face. The day I signed, I walked down a hall lined with art that probably had names and numbers and tried not to cry on marble. Sale price, $18 million. The zeros looked like they were daring me to blink. I paid my loans down to dust. I sent my team bonuses that made grown adults cry at their desks and not care who saw. I bought the Tesla because I wanted a loud, humming reminder that life could look like a future. Somewhere in there, I met Liam Brooks at a coffee shop where the barista always spelled my name, Riley, and I never corrected him because sometimes it's nice to be a myth. Liam is a mechanical engineer who can make a napkin drawing become a thing that holds weight. He ordered his coffee black and noticed I was subtitling with my shoulders hunched the way I hunch when deadline humidity fogs my brain. He said, "This might be weird, but the L cut on that argument is going to land like a thud unless you prelap her breath." Reader, I married him. Not on the spot. But close. He proposed on the Willamette River as the sun behaved itself for once. The ring was simple. The promise was not. I said yes with both hands. I rented a small garden venue. We hung strings of bulbs like a galaxy powered by goodwill. I wrote vows that were more like essays with a pulse. I mailed my family an invitation with a handwritten note, "Please come." It would mean everything. I called my mother. "Will you be there?" She paused long enough to make an answer. "We'll try." Connor's caseload is brutal. People think the opposite of love is hate. It's not. It's "we'll try." On my wedding day, I walked down the aisle on legs that used to walk home alone from other kinds of stages. Liam looked at me like he was looking at an answer he didn't know how to ask. I glanced left. 3 chairs stayed empty, stubborn as monuments. I married him anyway. We danced with his mother in a circle of cousins who treat laughter like an ancestral duty. His dad called me "our Riley," and tucked a curl behind my ear with a gentleness that said this is what it was supposed to feel like. I went home and cleaned my contact list like a kitchen you plan to cook in again. I posted the Tesla. 4 days later, the phone rang. "We need to talk," Mom said. "Tomorrow. Noon. Your father. Connor. You. Family meeting." I drove to Naperville with my stomach tied like a sailor's knot. Prairie Court looked the same. New mulch. New welcome mat. Same script. Dad opened the door like he was receiving a package that required a signature. No hug. He isn't a hugger, he's a nodder. Fine. Mom had coffee waiting and an expression that looked like she'd practiced empathy in a mirror. Connor sat on the couch scrolling his phone, thumb speed matching his sense of entitlement. We sat around the dining table that had witnessed our lives and our omissions. Mom started with sugar. "We saw your car. You've done well." Connor leaned in, hands folded like a closing argument about to happen to me. "Harper and Jonah are looking at colleges," he said. "Tuition is impossible. With what you've made, you could help. Dad says family invests in family." Dad nodded like that settled it. "We raised you right," he said. "Now it's your turn." I took a breath that tasted like the notarized version of enough. "You want to talk about family?" I asked. "Where were you when I got married?" Mom glanced at her coffee. "We were busy. You know how it was. Work." "Connor. You were busy for everything," I said. "Plays. Screenings. Graduations. You trained me to believe I was elective. But my car brought you here in under a week." Connor scoffed. "Don't be dramatic. It's not about your car, it's about kids needing college. There are moments when you feel the shape of your spine." I stood up, my chair legs screeching like a truth being dragged into daylight. "You think I'm hoarding money like a dragon?" I asked, sliding a folder across the table. Here's what I'm doing with most of it. Inside was a press release stamped and scheduled for that morning, $16.8 million, yes, different figure, to launch the Northwest Storybridge Foundation, full-ride scholarships in media arts, grants for community production labs, and paid apprenticeships for students from overlooked zip codes. Not a vanity fund. A mechanism. With guardrails. With partners. With accountability. Changed award/donation structure, new name, new amount, new programs. Mom's hands trembled like she'd been holding something heavy and only now realized it. Dad's face went the color of a stop sign. Connor slapped the table. You're throwing money away, he said. Harper and Jonah could be set for life. We're family. Then you set them, I said. Parent your children. Build a plan. I am not, and never will be, your emergency exit. Mom found a softer voice. We didn't realize we hurt you this deeply, she whispered. You realized enough to avoid it, I said. You just didn't adjust. I didn't slam the door when I left. I didn't want the neighbors to remember the noise more than the moment. I got in the Tesla, synced my phone, and let silence be a song. I blocked their numbers. Not from hate, from hygiene. A month later, a cousin messaged me, Connor lost the house. Adjustable rate turned weapon. He and the twins moved into an apartment that taught him how thin walls can be. My parents pushed retirement 5 years and picked up side gigs. A friend asked if I felt bad. Here's the golden dilemma for the comments section. Am I responsible for rescuing people who refuse to show up for me when rescue didn't cost a dime? I love Harper and Jonah. I used to write them birthday notes and slip movie passes inside. They never wrote back. Maybe their parents forgot to give them my letters. Maybe they rolled their eyes. Either way, the mailbox stayed quiet. That's not on 2 kids. That's on a system of adults making choices. I made a choice too. I won't audition for relatives who don't read the script. Liam and I built a life with windows and Sunday dinners. His mother texts me recipes that have too much cream and exactly the right amount of love. His father keeps spare batteries in a drawer labeled, for emergencies and also for Riley. I never knew a label on a drawer could make me cry. Turns out, it can. After the sale, I didn't spin up another startup to outrun my feelings. I put my time where my press release said my values lived. We rented a warehouse bay and turned it into the Storybridge lab, hand-me-down iMacs, soft boxes that tilt with attitude, battered tripods, and an open door. We set up paid apprenticeships that didn't require a parent's bank account to subsidize experience. We offered stipends for bus fare and dinner. We built microgrants for equipment, and yes, they required a budget and a pitch deck because art needs accountability too. That's where I met Zoe, a high school junior with a backpack patch that said "Ask me about sound design." We built her first docu short in 6 weekends and 300 C-stands. The day we exported the final, she whispered, "I made this," with a reverence I have never heard in a church. She submitted it to the Pacific Youth Doc Fest, another Changed Award in this new world of mine, and won the Rising Voice Award, a $4,000 scholarship, a mentor pairing with a Bay Area editor, and a slot at the DocFest Student Showcase. I watched her walk on stage and clapped like the kid in me was finally getting air. I spoke at high schools. I told rooms of teenagers the truth: you're not too much, you're too early for some people. After one talk, a boy with a chipped tooth said, "So I'm not crazy for wanting this." No, you're not crazy, you're awake. We partnered with the Civic Futures Forum, yes, the one with the Changed Award earlier, to build 3 pilot labs in libraries that smelled like possibility. We set up Storybridge Summer, 8 weeks, paid, with alumni assigned as assistant instructors because community should eat its own cooking. The first summer, a shy kid named Mason, not my nephew, life loves repeating names, Made a piece about his grandmother's hands shelling peas. People sobbed in a room where no one meant to. The donation went public on a Tuesday morning. The headline writers had fun. From Tesla to tithing, creator gives $16.8 million to youth media, not accurate, not a tithe, but I respect the alliteration. My inbox filled with thank yous and think pieces and one very long email from a guy who believes soft skills are ruining America. My mother wrote from a new address, after I blocked the old one, "We're proud of you." I didn't respond. Pride offered at the end of a transaction isn't pride. It's PR. Here's where I invite you to argue with me, because YouTube is a town hall with a like button. Did I go too far? Should I have set up college funds directly for Harper and Jonah but cut their parents out of the loop? Do adult children owe financial support to parents who decline to do the minimum emotional labor of showing up? I know what I chose. I chose guardrails. Transparency. I published the StoryBridge financials on our website with pie charts people can poke holes in, because accountability is an act of love, not suspicion. About 6 months after the family meeting, I saw Evelyn at a grocery store in Naperville. I shouldn't have been there. I was visiting a friend and went in for snacks because grief is a carb. She stood near the oranges looking smaller. I could have turned. I didn't. "Riley," she said, voice careful, as if saying my name might set off an alarm. "You look well." "So do you," I lied. We were both older than we were supposed to be. She asked about Liam. I said he was good. She said Connor was under pressure. I nodded like a neutral country. Then she said something I didn't expect. I should have been at your wedding." "Not sorry." But a sentence drove up to the curb and honked like it wanted me to get in. "I would have liked that," I said. Then I moved my cart. I didn't invite her to coffee. I didn't punish her with coldness either. Some boundaries are doorways you keep closed because the weather inside your house finally feels right. I cried in the car anyway. Boundaries don't make you a statue. They make you a person who can cry and still choose the same boundary tomorrow. Sometimes I drive to the waterfront at dusk, park the Tesla, and watch runners appear and disappear like commas in a story that keeps rewriting itself. I think about small hours, the first time a room clapped and a door inside me blew open. I think about the 3 empty chairs at my wedding and how Liam's mother filled an invisible one later with an arm around my shoulders and a paper plate of chocolate cake. I think about how my dad uses "we" when he means Connor, and how I finally learned to stop translating. And I think about you. Some of you will type, "You're petty, family is family." Others will write, "Blood doesn't entitle you, boundaries do." I didn't tell this to win a verdict. I told it because I wish someone had told me sooner, you don't have to bankrupt your boundaries to finance someone else's comfort. If you were me, what would you have done differently? Would you have paid 1 year, with strings? Would you have set up merit-based microgrants the twins could apply for without their parents touching a cent? Would you have done exactly what I did and slept better than you have in years? Tell me. Argue with me. Push me. I read every comment. And if this hit the part of you that is tired of auditioning for love, hit subscribe. Around here, showing up matters more than showing off. One last scene. It's late. The house hums the way houses hum when they're safe. Liam is asleep, one arm flung over the pillow like he's hugging a blueprint. I'm at the dining table, the good pen in my hand, writing a letter to the version of me that sat by a sheet cake watching her brother collect back pats. The letter says, "You didn't imagine it. You're not asking for too much. You're asking the wrong people to give you what they don't have. Go where the clapping sounds like oxygen. Build a room where the doors opens both ways. And when the old door knocks, you may answer, you may not. Either way, you are already home. If you're still here, thank you for listening. Now your turn, What's your boundary that people keep calling a betrayal? Put it in the comments. Let's talk like neighbors. Let's disagree like adults. Let's keep the receipts and the tenderness. And if nobody told you this week, I'm proud of you. Not for the car. Not for the award. For the way you chose yourself and then chose to build something bigger than yourself. Subscribe if you want more stories where we don't edit out the hard parts just to make the ending pretty. Around here, we want the truth and a plan. I'm Riley. Thanks for being here.